I was at a meeting yesterday with a friend who wants to get into business. I believe he's a government contractor, but he wants to get into it part time and then eventually get into it full time. And he was asking me, he had some really good questions, but specifically he was asking about how do you, as a realtor, protect your time. And I was asking him, in what regard. He's like, well, he's a new father. He has I think almost 1 year old son. He's like, man, it's really important for me to be able to spend time with my wife and my son. How do you safeguard yourself from working every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday? And it reminded me of when we first, when I first started in the business, how many weekends I would work and so forth. And I told him, well, part of it is just saying no to having safeguards, uh, parameters, and boundaries with yourself, and and making sure that you have a day off, that you have time for your family, yourself, and so forth. He's like, yeah, but how do you regulate it? So I told him, well, one of my go-tos is to not answer the phone after a certain time, because then at that point you train your clients to call you whenever, however, and whenever. And oftentimes, when there's problems that arise in a deal, it has to do with loan or escrow. And the mortgage banks are closed after 6 p.m. Escrow's closed after 5. There's not much we can do. So I tell them, well, part of it is having really good communication with your client so that they're always feeling like they're in the know.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I gotta ask David. What's his take on that? Like, how do you protect your time?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Where when we're working with our clients, I think we set those expectations right
Yeah.
early on, and we either are super lax with just you can call me at any time, which I do. I think both you and I, and that's one thing I learned from you is like really communication is key, right? And that's what we pride ourselves in
Yeah.
with in the business. And I do tell my clients like I'm a text away.
Yeah.
If I don't answer my phone call, text me. If I don't answer my phone, just text me.
Yeah.
However, I try to every situation is different, right? Like I usually try to pinpoint the time that works for my clients. I work around their schedule.
Yeah.
If I know a client's off of work at 4:30, I usually get my phone calls within the hour.
Yeah.
By 5:30. That way, it doesn't go into the later evenings.
Yeah.
And and it's just it's interesting because like the clients themselves they get programmed to that scheduling themselves. The updates on the times. But it's true, man. It's sometimes you get those, and obviously there's those one-offs that you get the phone call at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
That we've been something's going on in the transaction, and you can't get a hold of both of them. The two parties if it's a couple together. You make those exceptions, but sometimes it's hard, though.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is, and I was sharing with them that there's always the off chance, where there's a client who's on the East Coast or they're traveling for work or vacation, they're several time zones away, and yeah, you take those calls because you have to, because that's what we're here for. And he was also just saying, well, how do you, it seems like you guys are always on, and I'm like, at the end of the day, yeah, we are always on, but you have to, as an agent, you have to take certain measures to recharge your battery. Where you do have some downtime, where you do take advantage of, oh man, I've got a couple hours, I'm gonna go work out, I'm gonna go take a quick hike, And yeah, I guess we're always vigilant of our phone and so forth. Like, oh my God, I gotta get. There's something going on, right? But I safeguard my dinner time with my family. I try not to answer the phone unless there's an urgent matter that I'm waiting for, and I'll prime my family. Hey, I'm waiting for a phone call. I'm maybe to take this. But we have to take those measures to protect our time and our energy level, because the more we protect our energy level, then the better we can serve our clients. But as I was mentioning them, I think for us, and like you said, we pride ourselves in being in constant contact with our clients, letting them know what's going on, even if it's a no news update. Like, hey, nothing's changed. We're still in the same. We're in a holding pattern, or we're in a hurry up and wait mode, but we're working towards the finish line, what have you. So that was one of the topics that was really unique and interesting. And I think a lot of realtors get burned out because they're always on. The other one was, we were talking about open houses, and I was telling them, man, I don't know where it got mixed up. I don't know if it was because of the influencer model of social media now, or or HGTV, where it's an expectation almost that agents have to have this like full on catered open house, and have a jumpy and have all kinds of crazy shit going on, and I'm thinking, as a marketer, I'm thinking, well, the product is the product. The product is the property. That's what we're selling. The open house in and of itself, uh, the anatomy of it has changed quite a bit. And I don't know if you agree with me. I just think that traffic to open houses is a lot less than it was maybe 10 years ago. Remember when you first started doing open houses?
Yeah.
10 years ago, the traffic patterns have changed, the expectations have changed. What's your take on open houses?
Again, I think it's case by case. Definitely price points have a big play
Yes.
in it. Locations, geographical location of the property. I mean, when you have a property that it's in an area, a price point that's going to attract a lot more buyers, say, than the $1 million market.
Yeah.
It's you take advantage of that,
Yeah.
right? But it's I feel like the whole show of an open house,
Yeah.
it's not really for the house.
Yeah.
It's more so for the agent
Yes.
at the end of the day. So,
Absolutely.
Who are you doing it for?
Yeah. Right. I think open houses have their place still, particularly when it comes to properties that have uh, challenges with accessibility,
Right.
right? So be it maybe a day sleeper, for instance, someone who has an odd schedule because of their work, or maybe their children are homeschooled, and etc. Like those situations, yes, an open house is going to be a significant tool, because you have limited access during the week. So an open house, absolutely. Tenant, when you have tenant issues. However, the thing with the open house and tenants is like, well, when you do an open house or a photo shoot, you want to highlight the property in its best light, and oftentimes tenants don't have it in the best condition, and they don't have a vested interest in having it in great condition for sale. They're, from a psychological lens or standpoint, they want to stay there, so they're going to be a little combative. But for those cases, I think open houses still have a place, but they're not the end all be all. I know, I think a lot of clients sometimes, oh, you're going to do open houses every weekend. I'm like, no. The most important part is pictures, video, price.
Right.
We got to make sure that it's priced well. We got to make sure it looks really good online, because shoot, almost 99% of people start their search online, and they want to make sure that the pictures look good, and we draw them in. We want them to come see the property live and in person. And again, if you don't have accessibility issues, then it should be easy to schedule them in and get them in. The price, the condition, and the features and benefits of the home are really what's going to draw the traffic, not the open house.
Yeah, no, I do think though that you have that one shot that first weekend.
Yes.
For an open house, and that is where, like you said, the pictures play a big role.
Yes.
You list a property, people see the pictures online. If you drive most of those buyers to that weekend's open house, you do have a great shot at playing off of that buzz and creating a little bidding war, right?
Yes.
But post that first week, I think, like you said, it's more so just the property does its thing. It takes its course.
Yeah. Price is everything. So in talking to my friend, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give a person new to the business as an agent, like a new agent? What would be one piece of advice that you would give that agent?
Yeah.
Don't do it. No, just kidding.
I think the biggest thing, a piece of advice to give to somebody that wants to get in the business is that it's harder than it looks.
Yeah,
You know, you see the glitz and glam, hear about the paychecks,
yeah,
but truth is, we as realtors within the transactions, there's so much that goes on the back end that we try to protect our clients from.
yeah,
The stress and the overthinking,
yeah.
the chaos that goes on, and
Oh yeah.
that's our job, right? We
Yes.
take that on, and they may know bits and pieces of what's going on. That there's some hiccups,
Yeah.
but truth is, like we're going to war for them. Like,
Yes.
although we keep it civil with the agents because at the end of the day, like it's both of our jobs to get to the
Yeah.
end result, right? The end
Yeah.
goal to close for our buyers, our sellers collectively.
Yeah.
But there are some agents out there that try to take advantage, right?
Oh, big time.
And try to bully you. And some it may work, but you
Yeah.
and I, the way we work,
Yeah.
like we know
Yeah.
we protect our people.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of samurai, so I always call myself a real estate samurai. So the samurai were extremely loyal to I forget the word right now in Japanese, but their master, so to speak. So
Right.
whatever the mission of the master was, that's what the samurai would go do and go to battle for. And I see that we're a real estate samurai in that regard, where our clients want this, and we're gonna go and fight for it, and we're gonna do our best job and battle through a lot of things, oftentimes that the client's not even aware of. We're kind of like Swan, with there's pedaling like this underwater, but up above water,
Yep.
everything's regal. So I would also say to someone who is trying to get into the business, dude, stop trying to be an influencer and be an agent of influence.
Right.
And what I mean by that is really, really hone in your skills and how to be a really good negotiator, how to negotiate a client into a deal and have an exit strategy in case that deal is going sideways. You need an exit strategy. Have an exit strategy as well. And I would say, yeah, there's a lot of bullies out there, and you stand up to bullies and fight, negotiate. And like we said offline, everyone wants to get into this business until they figure out, wow, you really got to work hard for this.
Right.
And we work hard for our clients. So I would say, whatever the influencers are doing, do the opposite. So,
Right.
but be an agent of influence, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And that means honing in your skills, workshopping, reading books, learning. Always be sharpening your skills and the tools at your disposal, and align yourself with really good people, and move forward,
Right.
and move your clients forward. So that's the advice I would give.
Totally. Cool.